employers and loved ones can contribute up to $5,000 a year. And with the modest contribution, these accounts will reach hundreds of thousands of dollars for these young people by the time they get to, let's say 18, let's say 21, but by the time they're just young adults, they could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, most likely will be. And for decades, Washington politicians gave our children absolutely nothing but debt. But the Trump accounts, we're finally seeing and ensuring that every young American gets a great start in life and a really fair shot at the American dream, which is what we all want. They all aspire to that. And under the system, every newborn child gets $1,000 deposited in their Trump account at birth. Think of that, from the United States government. Think of that. The government is finally giving money back to our children. You think that was easy to get from the Democrats? Not easy. Actually, they didn't vote for it. They didn't. I don't think we got one vote. We got a unanimous Republican vote. We didn't get any Democrat votes, I don't think. But they have a hard time justifying all of the things that they've done. But the government gives them $1,000 at birth, and from there it just goes up and up and up. And lots of people, like the employers, can put money into their children's accounts of the employees. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm seeing it. And again, over 7 million, and it really just started, I would say, Scott, a few weeks ago, because it was all of the very complex legal governmental things were worked out about 3-4 weeks ago. And we have over 7 million people already, children already, so that's great. And I want to just tell you that generous individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, Brad Gerstner, and so many others have donated billions of dollars to fund Trump accounts for millions of children. Some people are going to take the children from states, the entire state. Like Gerstner is looking at the state of Indiana, where he contributes the money for, these are wealthy people. They've made a lot of money. They're putting it back. But Michael and Susan, they're two special, incredible people. As an example, donated $6.25 billion into the accounts for youth. They gave them for youth. Michael Dell, Susan Dell. $6.25 billion. I have a friend, he gave $50 million. I said, that's peanuts. That's not even close to the $250 million that Michael Dell gave. I said, what are you doing? You can do better than that. But people are loving it. And you know what I say? Go out and buy a Dell computer, okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, that's great stuff. And the Trump Accounts app, for those that want, is now the #1 app in all of America. Isn't that nice for our youth? People are doing it. It just caught on. In the past 18 days, nearly $1.5 billion have been deposited into the Trump accounts. Think of that. The money is pouring in. And it's for children and all sorts of advantages and tax advantages for the people that do it and make this investment in our future, because it's really an investment in our future. And all you have to do is go to TrumpAccounts.gov, and sign your child up for a free investment account today, and the child gets $1,000 from the government. You think that was easy to do? That wasn't easy to do. Tell the Democrats you're giving everybody $1,000. But we're pleased to be joined by some of those incredible Georgia families benefiting from the Trump accounts, including Cole and Allison Loden and their 3-year-old beautiful child Ray, their 2-year-old Rex, and 3-month-old daughter Ren. And Cole and Allison met at Kennesaw State University, where he played football, and he was a cheerleader and a respected guy, good student. Now Cole is a project manager helping build data centers, and just this past April, they became the first home buyers. Cole and Allison bought their first home. So I just want to come up here for a second, Cole and Allison. Come up, say a few words, wherever you may be. Where are you? Come on up. Come on, don't worry about Secret Service. We've had people come up. One of them almost got beat up, and all they did was, I said, come on up. And they, oh, beautiful. Wow. That's so nice. Be careful. You can't fall like Sleepy Joe. You can't. Come on, say something. How are you? Hi, sweet. I'll watch you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and the White House staff for allowing my family to be a part of this special event. It is truly an honor. Thank you, Mr. President, and your administration for the hard work and commitment that that made the Trump account possible. As a father, it's encouraging to know that our children's future can begin with an investment from day one. To every eligible new parent, I encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity by opening a Trump account for your child and continuing to invest in it each and every year. Mr. President, thank you for your continued commitment to investing in American families. And on behalf of my wife and me, thank you for providing our children with a greater opportunity to pursue and achieve their American dream. Thank you, and God bless America.
Thank you very much, Cole. That's beautiful. Also with us are Dean and Gabrielle Fungawing and their 4 children, Elise, Jude, Isaiah, and Talia, who also have been very proudly members of the Trump accounts. And Dean and Gabrielle are both entrepreneurs who believe in teaching their children the importance of self-reliance. And it's happening. You know, people are watching the market now. They're watching how are the stocks doing, how's it going, and they're only going up, it looks like, and we're going to keep it that way. So Dean and Gabrielle, come on up for a second, please. Wow. Wow. Beautiful.
Well, Mr. President, thank you for this honor. My American story began when my parents brought our family from Suriname to this city in 1990. We attended local schools and college right here in Georgia. And in 2008, my wife and I lost our jobs just before learning we were expecting our first child. A friend taught me the appliance repair and service trade, and it changed our lives. Together, we built a company serving over 55,000 homes across the city. And then she fired me and made herself CEO. Later, I founded a technology startup, and that patented technology, along with our team, protects millions and millions of square feet of commercial real estate from water damage. Standing with me today are my wife and our 4 beautiful children. We opened Trump accounts for each of them, and because investing in the next generation strengthens the fabric of America. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, and God bless America, and God bless you. Are you ready?
She made that for Kai.
While our administration is lifting up the next generation with the power of freedom and American capitalism, proven children's future with the disaster known as communism. It's communism. I don't know if anybody saw it's such a beautiful place. You know, the communists want to take it down. They tried taking Mount Rushmore down. They want to blow it up. They want to take it down. They shouldn't be up there. These people are crazy. But communism is, in my opinion, communism is the single greatest threat to our country and its history, including even World War I and World War II, Pearl Harbor, 9/11. I think it's the greatest threat that I've ever seen to our country. These people are stone cold crazy. And it is the enemy of the free people everywhere and everywhere in the world. You see it happening, and every time it starts to happen, the areas where it's at, whether it's blue states, you see the blue states are all going bad. They're all going bad because communism is a loser. The concept, the policy, it's a loser, and it always has been, and it always will be. And you know, they want to give everyone everything away. You want free rent, you want free house, you want to, what they don't say is that a year from now, there'll be absolute squalor, turmoil, and death. And that's the way it's happened all the way. It goes back thousands of years by different names. But that's the way it happens all the time. It's squalor, it's poverty, it's death, it's destruction. And that's why we declare again today that the United States of America will never be a communist country. You know, remember during the State of the Union, I said that this country will never be a socialist country, remember? And I was right. They skipped socialism. They went right to communism. Georgia's a state that believes in common sense, and yet your terrible Senator, Jon Ossoff, he's terrible. And the Democrats in Congress are voting with the communists every single time. They're afraid of the communists. You look at it. Now, I fought Ossoff before, as you know, and we won. We had a great success against this guy. He reminds me of Pinky Herman. Did you ever see Pinky Herman? Jon Ossoff and the congressional Democrats voted against securing our border. They voted against our massive tax cuts that you have. They voted against the Trump accounts for your children. They want to raise your taxes by a lot, not lower them. We lowered your taxes. We gave you the greatest tax cut in the history of our country twice now. And they want to raise your taxes substantially. You know, I've been watching politics. I've been involved in politics in the other side, you know, for a long time. I've always found it interesting, fascinating, important. But I've never seen people say, ever, it's always politicians. I've watched great politicians. We will lower your taxes. They will always say, we will, even if they didn't mean it. They'd say, we will lower your taxes. These people say, we're going to raise your taxes. I've never heard it before. It's a new phenomena. It's a phenomenon. They voted against no tax on tips. They voted against no tax on overtime. They voted against no tax on Social Security for the seniors. They voted against voter ID. Can you believe that? Well, you saw what happened. They caught thousands of votes in New Jersey where illegal aliens were allowed to vote, thousands and thousands of votes. They voted in favor of the transgender mutilization of your children and in favor of men playing in women's sports. Isn't that lovely? They voted against lower energy prices, lower car prices, and bigger paychecks for everyone. They voted against every one of these things. Jon Ossoff and the Democrat communists want to let the Marxists into power, bankrupt your families, and leave you totally undefended with wide open borders, but We will not let that happen to our country. We're not going to let it happen. Right? So it's a very appropriate thing because I watch this man run and he's really phenomenal, actually. Because I like the other side, too. I was a big fan of the other side, too. Two good men, frankly, but I watched him run and it was amazing what he was able to do. Very, very successful guy, and he decided he wanted to be governor because he thought he could do some really incredible things for this state, more so than have been done. And I'm very pleased to be joined today by a true champion for the people. He just won, Georgia business leader Rick Jackson, who I'm told has a big announcement to make. I don't know what this is. Come on up here, Rick.
Well, thank you. Mr. President, what you're doing on the Trump accounts is for foster children will, change lives. I know because I said earlier that it changed my life when I got a $100 Christmas gift in an orphanage. That's why here in Georgia we should not stop with $1,000. I want to announce as when I become governor, I'm going to push the state of Georgia to match the federal contribution with another $1,000. And I believe our legislature will approve that. If they don't, I will personally donate it myself. Mr. President, you're fighting for Georgians every day for the state and what you're doing to lower costs. Media does not report this, but every day President Trump is bringing unbelievable amount of business solutions to government. Let me give you an example. Not long ago, I was meeting with Susie Wiles, who in my opinion is the best chief of staff in the modern history. But we were talking about America's antibiotics supply chain. And I told her we bought this last American plant in the United States in 21 because I didn't want China to leverage it on our president for trade. I told Susie something that every family should know. We produce one dose of amoxicillin for 7 cents. By the time it goes through all the middlemen, you pay $1. Susie looked at me and said, well, have you heard about Trump RX? And I said, she said, we're announcing it tomorrow to sell directly to from the manufacturer to the consumer. That's a business solution. That really brings down costs. When we bought this manufacturer of antibiotics, we wanted to change the name to U.S. Antibiotics, which I thought was a good name. So it took the Biden administration 7 months to approve our bottle logo where it had been for the entire 35 years. Then last summer, we wanted to bring out for our kids amoxicillin extended release. Under the Trump administration, we applied to have a new drug that hadn't been here in 25 years. Under his administration, it was approved in 60 days. 60 days. So, Mr. President, thanks for what you're doing. I wish the fake news would report all these great business things that you're doing. But that's what I'm going to be doing in Georgia. I'm going to bring business solutions to solve real problems. The other side talks about affordability as if that's a solution. Affordability is not a political problem. Affordability is a business problem. It requires business solutions, just like this man's been doing all his life. My opponent wants to cut down businesses and cancel them just because I visited a restaurant. Well, that's just wrong. We are not going to do that. And I'm going to make sure that Georgia is the best place to do business and reduce affordability to the lowest it's ever been. And I'm going to be this man's favorite governor.
He's going to be a great governor. He will be great. Thank you very much, Rick. We also have some true warriors with us, including State Senator Brian Strickland, who is running for the job of Attorney General. That's an important one. Well, get out and vote, and he's going to be fantastic. You have my complete and total endorsement, as you know, okay? And State Senator Greg Doswell, and that he is a fantastic guy who's, as you know, running for lieutenant governor along with Rick. That's a pretty good. Where are you? There you are. Where are you? Oh, what a man he is. You have my complete endorsement. You know that. You had it before, but you have it now. Okay? Great luck. You won't need it. Yeah, everybody needs luck, but you're not going to need that much. Very talented people need luck too, but they don't need it that much. And State Representative Tim Fleming, who is running for Georgia Secretary of State. And they all have my complete and total endorsement. They're incredible people. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations. I heard you had a great win. We also have State Representative Houston Gaines with us, who's a fantastic person, and he's running for Congress. And you already have my endorsement, and you already won your primary in record numbers, and now you have to go and beat a Democrat. Good luck. We'll be helping you, okay? Good luck. I want to thank as well, he was here, I didn't know he was going to be here, Treasury Secretary, I think he's going to go down as the best ever, Scott Bessent. That's good, Scott. Don't make him too popular. I won't like him anymore. That's very good. Secretary of Education, a woman who's absolutely incredible. She's moving education back to the States, Linda McMahon, and she's phenomenal. She's getting it back to the States so the parents can run the education. And I met your school board people. They were really great people, but you know, they want to work with the parents, and that's what we're doing. And Linda, you are doing some great job. She's moving it back. Not easy. Not easy. That's years and years of turmoil that went trying to do it. She just gets it done. This woman is incredible. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Another great person and great administrator, a woman who's really smart. Everybody loves her. Everybody respects her. And she runs a thing called small business, but small business, when you add it all up, is probably bigger than any bank in the world, right? Kelly Loeffler, and you're here with Jeff. Jeff, stand up. Thank you. Great job, Kel. Treasurer of the United States, a man who was a senator here, and he was so ahead of everybody. He was so great. I said, "You want to be treasurer?" And he said, "I'd like to be treasurer. That'd be good." He's a great man. He's a person that loves Georgia like a lot. And it was not easy for him to take the other job, but he gets here. I'm sure he gets here plenty, but he loves Georgia. Brandon Beach. Brandon. Cobb County School Superintendent Chris Ragsdale with a beautiful family. With a beautiful family. And we have a man named Ralph Reed. Have you heard of Ralph Reed? Ralph Reed. He is a man that, with his group, a great religious leader, maybe the greatest religious leader, but with his group, is it 10 million doorbells you hit? And this was certified stuff. 10 million doorbells. He pressed 10, not personally, but he pressed a lot of them himself. And they wanted to make sure we had a big victory it's almost a couple of years ago, 18 months. And I just want to thank Ralph Reed. Thank you very much, Ralph. Thank you. Great job. Great leader. And one of the best lawyers in the country, a friend of mine. He's really incredible, and he's really based out of Georgia. He spends a lot of his time in Atlanta. David Schoen. Where's David? There's David. Hi, David. He's a great lawyer. You got a problem, go to David. Thank you, David. And Alveda King. So Alveda was with me from day one. Where's Alveda? She was with me. She was with me from day one when it was not at all fashionable. She was taking more grief, Alveda, but she knew what she was doing, and now she's like the queen of the world, right? Look at her. Thank you, darling. We appreciated it. You always like those people when it wasn't fashionable. To stay back, making America great again. Maybe the most important man in this room right now is not here. His name and the reason he's not here is me. He wanted to be here. He wanted to be. They wanted to change. I said, don't change. Mike's not here, and it is my fault because we have a very big vote coming up on the military, farming, and other important things in a little while. It's going to be a little while. And I got to have Mike in Congress because he's like maybe the most, but certainly one of the most highly respected congressmen, Republican or Democrat, in Washington. Mike Collins is an amazingly respected man. He got the look, he's got the whole deal. And I said, Mike, I'm sort of here because of you. I said, Mike, if you're here, I'm going to be extremely upset with you because he has to vote. And, you know, it's razor thin. We lose all the Democrat votes on all these things. Think of it, tax cuts, biggest tax cuts in history they vote against. They vote against everything because you know why? They have Trump derangement syndrome, that's why. But I hope you're going to vote for Mike, and you've got to vote for him because he's running against, I call him Pee Wee Herman. He's Pee Wee Herman lookalike. You know, I don't know, people don't know this, but I beat him once before as a congressional candidate. Does anybody know that? He ran for Congress a number of years ago. I got involved in the race at the request of a friend of mine from Georgia because they didn't like him, and he was easily winning. He was winning by 25 points, and there were 5 people in the race, and he was way up. He was above 50. If you get above 50, you get it. And I backed a person, Karen, you probably remember. Didn't know her at all, but I thought anybody would be better than this guy. And he went from 70 to, believe it or not, 49.9. And that meant he was now in a runoff. So he thought he had it made. And he was in a runoff. And I got involved a little bit. I came here twice. I did a couple of rallies, and she ended up winning the race. He lost. But I have to hand it to him because instead of being a congressman, he later on became a senator. If he was a congressman, he probably wouldn't have run. Who knows? I gave him a little credit for that. But he was easy to beat. He wasn't. I can't believe that he's a senator, and he's not respected at all in Washington. You don't even hear his name mentioned. You don't hear his name mentioned. I mean, I hear all the names. I hear all the bad ones and the good ones. I hear them all. But you don't hear his name mentioned. He's not even a factor. But you have a guy that is the most respected, just about one of the most respected people in Mike Collins. And I hope you're able to go out and really cast your vote for him. He will bring so much. They call it pork. We call it money. But he'll bring a lot of action back to your state. He's a great guy, and he loves your state, and he's worked hard. He's got the whole package. Mike Collins, vote for Mike. And he's hard at work. He's hard at work right now in Washington. And last but not least, we have the CEO of, so I like baseball. I like baseball. But this guy's done such a great job. You know, the Mets have the highest salary in baseball, and they lose all the time. I'm trying to, and I say, maybe we could steal this guy. But the team, the way the Atlanta Braves has been managed for years, right? For years and years. And he's the CEO of the Atlanta Braves, Mike Plant. He's been, you know, you don't realize how good he is, you know? When you have one of these guys, There are teams like that, where they never go down. Then you have other teams, we're rebuilding. They've been rebuilding for years. I don't want to mention teams because I know all the owners are all friends of mine. I get myself in trouble. But they're always rebuilding. We're rebuilding. This guy never rebuilds. He just stays at the top. He's amazing. And then he loses the best player. He loses a great first baseman. I would say great first baseman. And they keep going along. And they get things for the first baseman. And he was really good. Dodgers got him. But I watched the Braves for years, and they've done such a great job. So along with one of the best managers in baseball, Braves legend Brian Snitker, who was recently inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Brian, both of you come up. Would you both come up? Come on up here. They deserve a little credit. They deserve credit. I mean, I've suffered with teams for the years I've suffered. Oh, listen. They say you're not allowed to do that. Do it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome to Marietta. And as you can see, Braves country is a real thing. And you got a room full of Braves country right here. Mike and I presented President Trump with one of our 4th of July 250th anniversary jerseys that the team wore over that weekend. And I just wanted to tell President Trump that we're going to be back in Washington about a year from now. We're going to give him another World Championship jersey. So thank you.
Well said, Snit. Mr. President, I just want to say when you're done throwing four-seam
Great team. No, it's true. You watch you suffer with these teams for years and years. And these guys, every year, they have a great team. So that's called talent. Some people have it, some people don't. Most people don't. But under the Trump administration, Georgia is prospering again and America is winning again because we finally have a president who puts America first. We put America first. And I'm so proud of it, under my most favored nation, if you look at our policy on drugs, we have a most favored nation policy, meaning of all the nations in the world, we have to get the most favored price. And it wasn't easy, and I'm not going to bore you by saying I had to get other nations to approve it. And I did threaten them with tariffs if they didn't approve it. And I threatened the drug companies. I threatened everybody to get this done. And no other president even tried because they said it was impossible to do. But we're delivering the largest prescription drug price cuts in history by a difference of 400, 500, and 600% reduction. So for decades, Americans paid the highest price for prescription drugs anywhere in the world. We were the highest price anywhere in the world. And now we're paying the lowest price anywhere in the world. And that has a huge impact on your healthcare costs, really on everything. I'm very proud of it. Everybody said it couldn't be done. No other president even tried it because you had to get the drug companies, which is tough, but then you had to get the other nations to approve it, which is even tougher. So all you have to do now is go to TrumpRx.gov and you're going to get drugs for prices that you never believed. I mean, prices where they're 80%, 70%, 60%, 90% in one case I saw, lower. So go there and just get your drugs and at a minimum price them out and go to your store and see if they can match it, but I don't think anybody's going to match them. It's been amazing. Think of it, we went from the highest price 1 year ago, the highest price drugs anywhere in the world, like the fat drug. It cost, think of it. It cost $1,400 in New York, and in London it was $87. Okay, I told you I have a friend of mine, he's fat as, you never saw a guy like this. He's a very smart guy. Scott knows him very well. He's a great businessman, but highly neurotic, always eating. Eating, he does two things. He eats and he makes deals. And the eating he's not good at, other than quantity. But the making deals, he's very good. But he called me up because, I buy this fat drug. And now he calls me Mr. President. He used to call me Donnie. Donnie, I buy this fat drug. And in New York, I pay $1,400. And in London, I just paid $87. They said, you're so rich, how do you even know? He said, I don't know, my people told me that. And so he said, I went out and I had it checked. And it was from the same exact company, the same plant. It was actually made in the United States, the same everything. He said, what the hell kind of a deal? I'm paying like almost 10 times as much. I said, that's the system. But it really awoke in me, and I said, I got to do something about it because he's right. A pill that will sell for $10 in London or in Munich, $10, is selling for $100 or $120 for a pill in New York City or in Chicago, Los Angeles, or any other place. And I said, we got to do it. It's unfair. And I called up the drug companies, and they fought me, and then they said, you're right. They had all sorts of excuses. Well, we have to do research. I said, and I called up France. I started with Emmanuel Macron. I said, Emmanuel, you must raise your drug price. Oh, Donald, why would I do that? Because we're paying too high, and you're paying too low, and we're going to meet somewhere in the middle. No, Donald, I will not do that. Yes, you will. No, I won't, Donald. I will not do that, Donald. I said, yes, you will. And then finally he said no. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a 200% tariff on every bottle of wine and champagne coming out of France. And he said, Scott was there, and he said, Donald, it would be my honor to do that. And we got France, and we got all of them the same way. That's too complicated. But we got it, and now we have favored nations, and we pay the lowest prices anywhere in the world from the highest prices. And that alone should win us the midterms, but it's not going to be that easy with the cheating and everything else that goes on. So make it too big to rig. Remember my statement, too big to rig, make it too big to rig, and watch those machines. Every day we're liberating our communities from the scourge of migrant crime. In nearby Clayton County, Georgia, federal law enforcement recently charged an illegal alien murderer from Mexico who shot a man in the torso and then shot another twice in the heart and the head. In Bullock County, ICE arrested an illegal alien who sexually assaulted an 11-year-old girl and held her 10-year-old sister at knife point for 1 week. John Ossoff and the Democrat communities, they voted to defund ICE and leave Georgia families at the mercy of the monstrous criminals that we're getting out of here. We're getting them out at record speed. And by the way, we always stand with the heroes, the patriots of ICE and Border Patrol. Always. They take such abuse, and they do their job. And our strong borders are really, it's a policy of helping to bring down the cost of living. It really is. It's under Biden, over 60% of the increase in housing rental. The rental cost demand came from the flood of illegal aliens coming into our country. The government would pay thousands of dollars a month for apartments for illegal aliens. But for our warriors, for our ex-servicemen, for people that served in our military for 20 years and 25 years, and then they couldn't get into an apartment. They were living in the street. They didn't do anything. But they took care of illegal aliens, paying thousands of dollars a month in some of the most luxurious hotels in the country. It's crazy what they were doing. It's crazy. But thanks to our policies, the cost of rent is now down by more than 10% in a short period in the Atlanta area compared to the peak of the border invasion. I mean, these people were occupying all the apartments that the government was paying, and they were never going to be great. They were never going to remember the word I made up, the caravans. They came in thousands and thousands came by caravan, and many murderers were in these caravans. To stop the massive theft of taxpayer dollars, including by the millions and millions, we have launched the war on fraud, led by Vice President J.D. Vance. He's doing a great job. We ended Medicaid for illegal immigrants, and we redirected $50 billion to make. They said, that's Trump country. We're not going to do anything. They wouldn't spend, because we did. We got tremendous votes. In your whole state, we got tremendous. We won in a landslide. In just 18 months, we've turned this country around like nobody's ever seen before. Think of it. Our border is secure. Jobs are up. Inflation is way down. Factories are opening. Investment is pouring into our country. I told you, $19.2 trillion. Our military is more powerful than it has ever been before by far. You see that. Venezuela, Iran. America is back. It's stronger than ever before. And I'm telling you, it's only going one way. It's going up. As long as we keep our current thinking, our current system, it's going up. If you go the other way, nothing ever succeeds. I made the statement once, with communism, everything turns to shit, okay? It's true. Terrible thing. It's true. My wife hates it when I do that. She said, you were doing it so nicely, and then you had to use a foul word. You know, Franklin Graham wrote me a letter. President Trump, I love your speeches. I think they're great. But, sir, if you wouldn't use foul language, the speeches would even be better. And I wrote him back. I said, actually, frankly, they wouldn't, because there's like no word that can replace that word with respect to the subject matter that we're talking about, right? But that's all right. But I try hard. I try hard to keep them clean. But it's true. With communism, everything turns. With the help of our Republican majorities in Congress, we will crush violent crime, impose harsh new penalties for dangerous repeat offenders, crack down on Marxist these prosecutors are so bad, they're so evil, what they do. And the rogue judges, you don't have a chance in front of these people. If Obama puts in a judge, I don't care how good your case is, you barely have a chance of victory. And nobody suffers it like I do. I get an Obama judge. First thing, who appointed the judge? Barack Hussein Obama. Oh, that's a problem. And we will end no cash bail. The real bad stuff, these guys, they get out, they kill somebody, they're let out, they kill somebody the same afternoon. We'll pass the Great Healthcare Plan. It's called our Great Healthcare Plan. That's the name of it, to stop all payments to big insurance companies and give the money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be much better, and you will save a lot of money. Because as you see, Obamacare is a total disaster. It's been a disaster. It's gone up through the roof. It's a total disaster. We want to spend the money. We want to give you the money directly. Buy your own health care. What's happening is these insurance companies take in billions and billions of dollars, and they don't give a damn about you. And you go out and you get crummy health care at a price that's unaffordable. So we want to give you the money, and you spend the money, and you go around and negotiate. You're going to have money left over. It's so much better, and you're going to have much better health care. And finally, we have to pass the Save America Act to defend American elections. And I have to say, Mike Johnson and Congress have done a great job, but we're having a hard time in the Senate. The Senate, what they're doing is it's just not right. Congress is going to pass it again. They passed it 3 times. They're going to pass it again. It's like the Senate is a place that you send things when you want them to die. We can't do this, and we're not going to take this any longer. We're not going to take it. You know, I'm trying to be nice, trying to be really nice. You saw we had a big victory last night in Arizona. I've had victories everywhere. But we're not going to be able to take it much longer when they can't get past voter ID, proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots because they're crooked as hell. So right now, Congress is working to get as much of our plan as possible into the budget bill to identify and really terminate. Look, what they should do? Very simple. A lot of you don't know about filibuster. They should terminate the filibuster and approve everything. Because the Democrats are going to do it. The Democrats are going to terminate the filibuster as soon as they have a chance. And then they're going to approve Puerto Rico and D.C. as a state. They got 4 more senators. They're going to end up with 12 more congressmen. They're going to get like 40 electoral votes. If they are allowed to do that, by that time I'll be sitting home. And I'm not a big crier. I don't think you want to see me cry, you know? There are some people, they do very well when they cry. But you don't want to see me cry. But I may be crying when I'll be sitting home and I'll say I told them. They got to really terminate the filibuster, get everything approved right away. Because you're going to have a stoppage. You're going to have a stoppage in September. The Democrats won't approve everything. They become deranged, like deranged Jack Smith. Remember that deranged sick puppy? They're deranged, and they won't approve. You're going to have a shutdown in September. And in 2 years later, you have the debt ceiling bill. They would love it. I call it the 1929. You know what 1929 means? That was not a good year. And there's no reason for it. They should terminate the filibuster. Everybody call John Thune at the Senate. He's the leader of the Republican Party, and tell him to get this stuff approved. So we're fighting so that all voters must show voter ID. We're fighting so that all voters must provide proof of citizenship, okay? And also the no mail-in ballots, very important. And we're doing exceptions for illness, disability, military deployment, travel. If you're away and you have problems, we'll be very easy on that. Look, if you're away, if you're in the military, you want to vote, we want you to vote. But we'll also enshrine in permanent law no men in women's sports and no transgender surgery for your children. So, ladies and gentlemen of Georgia, the golden age of America is upon us. We are in the golden age. This is the greatest we'll ever be. And together, with your help and the patriots all across this magnificent land, we love our country. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you.
Welcome to the program. It's going to be an abbreviated show, obviously, because we were just listening, I guess the last 50 minutes or so, we were listening to President Trump from the state of Georgia, Marietta, Georgia, I think, at a high school there. So we can discuss that if we want. Let us know what you think about it in the chat. But we're also going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the war in Iran. We haven't really talked about that. The Washington Post, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. The Washington Post is reporting that the CIA is saying that a lot of the bombing that's going on right now is actually not weakening Iran's position in terms of what the cards are, because as you and I well know, the cards really have to do with topography and geography and that sort of thing. So we'll talk about that, but also the Washington Post is traditionally used to disseminate whatever the CIA thinks. I mean, it is an intelligence oligarch mouthpiece, like most of the media is. So we're going to talk about that. We also have an update from this New Jersey story about the voter fraud, the illegal immigrants that voted or were registered to vote. Some of them did vote. The media is obviously trying to gaslight people into thinking that's no big deal or it's not happening. We do have, 6,000 that were registered, but President Trump says the number's closer to 36,000, 35,000, something like that. We have so much to talk about, and I don't think we're going to have enough time to do it, but so let's just get into it. I've got co-host Rob Spencer is back with us in studio. The show starts right now.
The Paul Harrell Program.
Hit you. I got you. You're ready. All right, welcome to the show, folks. Broadcasting from the state of Arkansas. We really do appreciate you being with us. And Rob Spencer's in seat number 2. Go.
Listen, I'm like a junkie. I've been having withdrawals.
I know you haven't been. I know you've been so busy.
Hit me right here in the vein. Listen, all the crap that's been happening over the last couple of days, all good grief. I mean, like literally twists and turns and all of this stuff. Trump is proven right again when we see this New Jersey stuff, and that's what they're willing to admit. Let's put that out there on the plate here. That's what they're willing to admit. Trump says it's much worse, and we all know that it's probably exponentially worse than what Trump even believes, because that's what he's just going off of what he can prove. What have they not caught? What have they not found with all of this stuff? And then, are we going to have an all-out war with Iran? This is a conflict at this point, but we're sort of trending toward this is going to be a prolonged war. I don't want that. I don't think anybody else wants that. But at the same time, like, what's our off-ramp? What is the off-ramp? Because when you're dealing with crazy, is there a true off-ramp? It's like arguing with a liberal at a liberal arts college who is majoring in gender studies, and you're trying to tell them the difference between men and women. That's what we're dealing with Iran. There's no rationale with it because they just don't want to work with the United States. So you got two options. I've talked about this ad nauseum. You got two options. You just walk away and just say, screw it. Whatever the hell they do to the world, not our fault, because the rest of the world's not willing to help us with this crap. We're trying to fix this crap sandwich here, and the rest of the world's not willing to help us with it. So we're just going to walk away from it and, screw you guys. We got enough oil here in the United States. We'll just do whatever the hell we want to do. Screw you guys, whatever. Option number 2 is, neutralize the threat. And the threat being, these guys are going to continue with this nuclear war aspirations. Are they going to get a nuclear war? Are they not? The threat of that. But look at what what they're doing with the Strait of Hormuz and affecting the global oil markets. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sitting in the briefing rooms. Yeah. I don't know what to do. But I can tell you that something has to happen, or there's going to be a bloodbath in the midterms.
Well, yeah, exactly. And the fact of the matter is, neutralizing the threat. You have two options to, and whatever the end goal is, has not really been clearly articulated. But to neutralize the threat costs thousands of American lives to do it. In terms of a ground
nobody
force,
wants that, man. Nobody wants
literally,
that. We've already lost three service members.
There's over 100 have been injured.
Yeah.
Or you have some people thinking that they're positioning the narrative to actually drop a nuclear bomb. And if that,
dude, seriously,
no, I'm just telling you that it's. I know.
We got to stop a nuclear bomb from happening. by dropping a nuclear bomb.
Right.
Come on, man.
And I think that, and again, I don't know. Like you said, like Iran's government is intentionally, what they project is intentionally kind of an organized chaos, and it's very decentralized. But if that were to ever happen, you know, America, I believe, would lose whatever moral standing that we have left would be gone.
I don't. I mean, they're not already. They're already not helping us.
Right. In a way that would. I just don't think we would ever recover from. Personally.
Well, there's a certain level of who gives a damn. You know, there's a certain level of who gives a damn. What do you care? You know, we're the shining light on the hill here, but you know, but at the same point, like. I don't think we want to go down that road.
I don't either. And again, 7 million Christians live in Iran. 7 million Christians live in Iran.
You don't want to whop. I mean, what's the population? What is it?
93 million.
93 million people live there. So, you know, it's a fifth of the size of the United States.
And again, you know, these cards were always the cards. You know, there have been war games about this very scenario for a long time. And again, you know, you get down to the topography of the country, and also it's the size of Western Europe. So,
Paul, I want to clarify something. Us being in a conflict is not going to cost the Republicans the midterms. Oil prices are going to cost the Republicans in the midterms because, folks, you and I, all the people in our chat, and then me and Paul, when we go cast our votes. We're going to be casting our votes for Republicans. We're going to be casting our votes for conservatives. That's a given. And then you got the lunatics on the left, the far left, that are vote blue no matter who, right? We know that those people exist. But there is a chasm of people who will vote either way in a midterm, or even if they won't, it's about turnout.
Yeah, staying home.
Correct. So if you have $4 a gallon for gasoline here in the state of Arkansas, which is a lot. It may be more in other places. I think it was $3.79 today. I can't remember exactly what it was, but let's call it $3.79. If you've got that here in the state of Arkansas with our low cost of living, what is it in other states? And if it's $4 a gallon and these people go to the ballot box, they're uninformed voters, folks. Let's just be honest. They're uninformed voters, and they're like, I'm not voting for what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And so if a conservative, because we have all three right now, the Senate and the House and the presidency, we're going to have conservatives sitting home because we're not proudly going to say we've got to keep this going.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
It's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be about voter turnout.
And then you do have a huge contingent of people that just their number one issue was American foreign policy, not wanting it to be the same.
There's some of that. Yeah, there's some of that. And I want to say this, Paul. I want to say, like, all of us looking through rose-colored glasses saying, oh, yeah, the midterms are going to be fine because of the redistricting and because, things are – they have not forgotten how bad things were under Joe Biden. You're fooling yourself, folks. People have forgotten how bad it was under Joe Biden. They're trying to revise history right now. They're telling us that they didn't make us wear masks.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell us that you didn't get fired if you didn't get the vaccine.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell us all of this. They're pissing on our legs and telling us that it's raining. Okay? They're doing that right now. So you want to sit here and tell me that people haven't forgotten? They have forgotten how bad it was. Any rational person, any reasonable person, any intelligent person realizes how bad it was under Joe Biden. We're going to continue to vote conservatively because all of our values are at stake, but also because, man, our lives are better off, even with slightly higher gas prices. They were really bad at one point under Joe Biden. We had 9% inflation. People have forgotten about that.
Yep.
They're blaming Trump about it right now.
And, they've done I think we got to do a better job. But, see, none of this is going to work. Like, I consider and say, well, you can say that inflation is now lower than it was, but the prices have still not come down, and they're not going to come down. And so explaining that to somebody, nobody cares about that, right? It is literally the phrase, well, what have you done for me lately? Yeah. And that's all that matters.
Tell me right now, Republicans, conservatives in our chat, anybody that's watching, no matter what platform on, tell me right now, a conservative going to the polls, what do they got to hang their hat on? In my view, this is the only thing that is without question, and that is securing the border.
Right.
That is the only thing. Okay, now that is a big thing. I don't want to diminish that at all.
It is.
14 months straight without an illegal border crossing. That is monumental when you had hundreds of thousands, even millions of people pouring across the southern border. We were leaking like a sieve, man. You know, Joe Biden just let all these people in because they're trying to replace their electorate because they're losing black people. They're losing blacks and Latinos. They were losing them. And so they let all of these other people in. Hey, we're going to give you a driver's license. We're going to give you all this stuff, allow you to vote, all of that stuff. We were leaking like a sieve. But I can tell you this, that one issue, because Republicans we're a coalition. We're not a single issue thing like the Democrats with their damn abortion.
Right.
We're not a single issue party. Okay? That one thing may not be enough, and I feel like it's not going to be enough to get conservatives off of their butts to go vote in a midterm when they are paying $4 a gallon for gas.
Yeah, I mean, Fox News may not cover it. They may not cover things, but what you can say about people on the right is that, especially the diehards, right? Like that we read the news, we don't just take Fox News' word for it, right? So
Sure.
if you vote for, let's say, a lot of deportations, and then you pull out of Minnesota, people are disappointed in that. Now, Fox News may not report on how people are disappointed in that, but that's certainly the case. When you vote for mass deportations and then you say, okay, well, yeah, we're going to do the violent criminals, which everybody is for, but we can't do the farm workers and we can't do the hospitality workers because that lobby has the White House's ear. People take note of that and they're disappointed in that. The latest farm bill actually grants an amnesty for farm workers that meet a certain criteria. And Republicans are going to support this. And they say, well, you don't support our farmers. Our farmers are asking for this. The American people, especially those on the right, that are not mindless zombies, that actually do read and have a long memory. You talk about not motivating the base. When we have had, I said this yesterday, 3 elections where the people have voted for Donald Trump, and I count 2020. Obviously,
Sure.
Joe Biden did not get 80 million votes.
Sure.
This is a policy that the country has now voted for in 3 presidential elections.
Yes.
Which is obviously secure the border, great,
Yep.
but also stop. We've got to have the deportations. We cannot allow our country to be
Every time.
So for the base to come back, or the RNC basically to come back and say still not going to give it to you, people are taking note of that. And then you add the Middle East war again and everything else, and people are demoralized.
I don't mean to.
It is what it
besmirch,
is.
I don't mean to besmirch
End
our
the
listeners
war and focus
whatsoever.
on. Their last chance is to get out of this conflict.
Yeah.
And to focus on domestic stuff. Now, I think the New Jersey story is a great idea.
Yeah.
We need 50 more of those stories about illegals that have voted.
And some of these people were in our comments are alluding to this as well. Could we also can we not have it on repeat leading up for the next 5 months, 4 months, whatever it is leading up to November? Repeat of all of the what about Joe Biden's speech standing with the red background?
Yeah, dark MAGA or whatever.
Dark MAGA. It could not have been more satanic when he's sitting there villainizing half the country.
Yeah.
Calling us a threat to democracy, calling us a threat. You are literally putting crosshairs on people like you and I. They killed Charlie. They tried to kill Donald Trump. That kind of mentality, that kind of speech, that kind of rhetoric was so prevalent over the 4 years. Every damn thing that happened, that went wrong, that went sideways in the Biden administration was blamed on Donald Trump. Even in 2023, 2024, Donald Trump hasn't been president for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
You're blaming Donald Trump for this crap.
Right. Point being, though, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, and all of the celebratory stuff. And obviously, I still have questions about the official narrative. I'm going to wait and let the court proceedings, I want to see everything, and I want to know what the government's going to do with it before I have any sort of, critique. I still have a problem with the whole 30-out 6 thing. Anyway, as a deer hunter. But everybody thought, okay, they've gone too far now, believing the official narrative, that it was a troon that did this or a troon adjacent person that did this. And then everybody that was celebrating, it was like, okay, we're finally going to do it. We're going to use the hard power that we have. We're going after the people funding radical left-wing groups. We're going to go after the ones funding the violent ones. We're going and we're still sitting here waiting for the government to actually make the modern iteration of the Democrat Party illegal. And that's in the fact that it hasn't happened as fast as we like, and some may argue not even at all. Has demoralized us.
Right. Well, think about what it is. Think about what the Democratic Party stands for at this point. When AOC and Bernie Sanders are not far enough left, what the hell are you doing as a Democratic Party? When AOC and Bernie Sanders, which used to be the extreme wing of your party, they are not left enough. They're not left enough. It's what you have done is you have fed the monster. You keep feeding that monster. You didn't discipline it, right? Let's go with the dog. Right? I love dogs. I'm a dog owner. If I see a video of somebody abusing a dog, it makes me more angry than a human being, and I'm just sorry. That's just unless it's a kid.
Right.
If it's a kid, that's number 1, a dog number 2, an adult number 3. That's my level of anger when I see videos of abuse, okay? Maybe it's right or maybe it's wrong. I don't care. But I can tell you that's what it is. When I see someone abusing an animal, it infuriates me. But let's go back to training a dog. You cannot just give your dog whatever the hell they want. Okay? They're like a child. Especially when they're younger, they're like a child. But what the Democrat Party has done is when that dog was a puppy, they let him crap in the house. Sorry, I censored myself. They let them poop all over the house, pee all over the house. They didn't discipline them. They had unlimited food in their bowl. They got a 200-pound, Rottweiler that they have let eat you out of house and home, and they're pooping and peeing all over the house because you have not given them discipline. That's what the Democrat Party has done with the socialist/communist wing of their party. They have let them do whatever the hell they want to do, and they've encouraged them. They've gotten on the podiums. We want to go with Mondani. We want to elect a terrorist to be the mayor of a city that encountered a terrorist attack. That's what we're going to do as a Democrat Party. We're going to go down this road of socialist, Democrat, what do they call them? Democratic socialist, communist, whatever, anarchist. That's what the hell they are. We're going to go down that road, and we're going to let those people speak for our party. The Chuck Schumers are freaking closer to an independent at this point. The only reason that he's as left as he is because he's trying to hold on to his position of power. The AOCs, the Bernie Sanders, are now not left enough, Paul. When you think about that, did you think that would happen 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? No, we didn't, because you just fed that dog whatever it wanted. You just let it crap all over everything.
Right.
And you let that monster grow.
And you've got, again, our government is still infiltrated with communists as well. So to the point of the lack of discipline, lack of accountability, the intel oligarchy, all of that stuff works hand in glove. The reason I've left this, the oil price, $86.46, up on the screen is because I had this thought and I wanted to ask you, because I don't know if I've noticed it, but I did see some report where that gas prices may be as low as they are, even though they're up. But they may be as low as they are because they've been diluted, maybe with more of a higher ethanol blend without some people knowing.
Man, I don't know. I hadn't been following
Well,
that.
I didn't. I just heard one story. This was weeks ago, one story about that, and I just wanted to put that out there to the only way you'd probably be able to tell is if, you look at your gas mileage. And so just be on the lookout for that, because that actually may be something that's going on.
I was
keep 'em
corrected,
low.
and King Watts, I will go with you. I will agree with you on King Watts. King Watts brought up, they said a child first. Yep, number one. I agree with you on that. A veteran or our elders, like elderly folks.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Number two.
Speaking of veterans.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And then animals, and then able-bodied adults. But anyway.
Speaking of, we forgot to do this, but speaking of veterans, I want to remind everybody that the Paul Harrell program is powered by the Healing Veterans Project. And this is
incredible.
I mean, we're really excited about this. We're really excited to announce healingveteransproject.us. This is a nonprofit organization. You guys have heard me talk about it this week, but nonprofit organization that's just dedicated to giving veterans non-pharmaceutical intervention, red light therapy specifically. We've got a list of veterans that have been prescribed red light devices by doctors, and of course the VA will not give them to. They'll give them opioids, Vicodin, Percocet,
drug them up,
but they won't give them this incredible technology. And so,
listen, what you've got, Paul, and I don't mean to interrupt you here. You got well-to-do, wealthy ladies who have done the research on red light therapy and anti-aging, anti-pain, disc degeneration, we talked about with Matt Troy, a lot of veterans, especially if they were Vietnam veterans, dealing with Agent Orange and the neuropathy, how they can't even make a strong fist, they can't open their hand all the way, that manifests itself a lot of times like arthritis and all of that stuff. And you've got the possibility there to heal them without just drugging them up.
Yep.
To give them relief. And it just pisses me off that the VA has not even taken a look at this. I really want Robert Kennedy Jr. to take a look at this.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. I actually sat in on a call with one of these veterans that has been trying almost a year to get the VA to approve one of these panels. And it was a heartbreaking call, and I listened to their story, and we're going to actually have them on the show. They're actually the first in line to get one of these panels, because we just started being able to take money last week is when we just started being able to accept donations.
Sure.
And it's just heartbreaking. And finally, the VA is basically like, no, they're not They're now no longer responding. They're done. They're not going to
give them a drug.
It. Right.
Hey, drug yourself up there, veteran.
Exactly.
Yeah, just drug yourself up. Live in a haze.
So,
come on, man. That's not fixing anything.
Here's the deal. You see it right there, healingveteransproject.us, and you go there and you click the donate button. Sign up for monthly donations if you can, is what we encourage you to do. But I have other news on this, because maybe you guys can't donate, or maybe you're $5'd out. I get it. Here's the deal. And this is for the LFA audience and anybody else listening. If you have a retail business, or you know somebody that has a retail business,
somebody that has like a boutique, a clothing boutique, or
exactly.
something. Yeah.
We want to partner with you, and we want to integrate a donation option for your customers at point of sale, at checkout, and we can do that. We can make that happen. And if you're interested in that at all, the email is right there on the lower third. Paul, I want you to email me at paul@healingveteransproject.us. That's PAUL at healingveteransproject.us, because we've got a list of different options where we can make that happen for you. And by the way, we can also even help if you were to incur some sort of startup cost or something like that. So just so you know, that's really what you could do. If you can't donate today, you can reach out to us if you have a business, or you know somebody that has a retail business, because this is how we can really help the veterans, and we can get stuff rolling in quickly to let people know. We can give you the literature, the brochures, and all of that stuff, so you can tell your customers what exactly it is. Non-pharmaceutical intervention that the VA doesn't want to cover, this charity is there to cover.
So, Paul, I'm going to give you a story, and it's from Darlene, and Darlene in our chat. Darlene, thank you so much for telling us this. This is incredible. It's incredibly tragic, honestly. Years ago, my nephew, this is what she writes. Years ago, my nephew had just finished boot camp. He came home, and he got in an accident. He was paralyzed because they drugged him, and he is still addicted.
Wow.
I got him. They got him addicted, so he stopped trying. And listen, Darlene, I'm so sorry to hear that, but it's unfortunate too that is one of a million tales of these veterans who come home. They got PTSD. They're dealing with all this shit, man. They went overseas. They saw the horrors of this, or just being in the military where they break you down and they try to build you back up into this war fighting machine. Those are positives until you actually go over there and you see it, and you see babies being blown apart, and you see your fellow servicemen and women with their legs blown off and their arms blown off, or they're totally killed and all that stuff, and you got to come home and you got to sleep at night. You got to sleep at night. And what is the VA's option for that? You know, I know that they're doing the best they can do. I'm not trying to rip on the VA, but their technology is so old. They're like, give you a pill. Here's a pill. And then people that truly need it, like my best friend's dad, who has strong anxiety, he has to go through a million different avenues to get a Xanax that will calm his anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like you're just drugging people up when they don't need it, and the people that do need it because they got strong anxiety, maybe, like that intervention could help. Why are you not looking at all options at this point?
And interestingly enough, and we need to look in this for your friend's dad, but I mean, red light it has anti-anxiety effects as well. So we need to get him hooked up with Healing Veterans as well. So anyway, you're gonna hear a lot about it. HealingVeteransProject.us, and we're proud to be partnered with them, and I'm actually on the board now of Healing Veterans. So
well, it's just because you believe in it, Paul. It's not just a thing where like, oh yeah, I'll be on this board. I mean, once we listen to Matt Troy talk about, you know, the mission that they're undergoing here, I mean, it just makes it just makes too much sense.
Yeah,
it
does.
So
it really does. Especially, you know, I believe in the red light therapy. Obviously, we sell red light panels here on this show. This is a great way to get a great technology that is for some reason considered Eastern medicine, which is wild to me. Yeah, I mean, Western the way I have characterized it is I think it's just a difference between biophysics and biochemistry. I think Western medicine is more focused on biochemistry, and maybe the Eastern medicine is more focused on biophysics, or I don't know. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
Well, I had, you know, I will say this really quickly too, that they weren't veterans, but my younger sisters struggled with addiction to pain medication. For a lot of their lives, they lost custody of their children to family. Like, we kept them in the family, but they lost custody as their parent, and they just couldn't kick the habit. You know, they're twins. My younger sisters, they're about 40 years old, I think, at this point, and both of them, one of them has been clean for 3 years, and one of them has been clean for 2.5 years. And so I thank God every day that they you know, had that avenue. But both instances started with some sort of injury, and it was about 5 years apart. Where you know, one of them was in a car accident, and the other one I can't remember what her I can't remember what she did. But anyway, so they got prescribed pain medicine, and they get addicted. They get these opioids in their system. It's just so highly addictive. Yeah. And then they start stealing money from my mother. You know, it just turns them into a different person. They start stealing money from my mother, and you know, and buying these you know, illegal narcotics off of the street. And you don't even know what's in it. At this point, you know, at today's age, it could be fentanyl. And so I'm so proud of them for getting clean, but they're one of the rare instances that has turned the tide here. Most of them don't. They just keep going down this rabbit hole, and it's addiction for the rest of their life. Can we offer solutions? Yep. And you think a red light panel that's going to throw some red light on you just going to be like, oh yeah, that's going to be the solution? The science is there, folks. I've done the research myself. And when you've got these extremely wealthy ladies that are doing the science because it helps with anti-aging and all this stuff, it's just incredible how it stimulates your red blood cells and all of this stuff. I don't want to sound like a broken record. I'm not paid to say this. I'm just trying to say the technology is there. Why are we just drugging people up?
That's a great point. That's a good point. Good way to leave it. So this was the title, the thumbnail of the show. We're just now getting to it. Zero Hedge has this story. CIA distances itself from Trump's Iran war with a media leak. Interesting twist. So this was the Washington Post that initially reported on this. Tyler Durden says over at Zero Hedge, it seems that the CIA and other U.S. intelligence officials hope to distance themselves from Trump's Iran war, now with the U.S.-initiated conflict having dragged on for nearly 5 months with no end in sight after the White House after White House officials had in the opening days touted a swift, limited military excursion. They are leaking intelligence to the press, which shows they have assessed that current American strikes on Iran are unlikely to change Iran's negotiating position. With tankers in Hormuz on fire and others too afraid to move, Iran is vowing that it will keep its leverage over the strait at all costs. The Washington Post says that Iran's government is unlikely to feel significant impact or soften its negotiating position as a result of new rounds of U.S. military strikes like those now underway, according to new intelligence assessment described by current and former U.S. officials. To a large degree, the intel assessment is stating the obvious, which should have been well understood far in advance. It seems intel officials want to get it on record that they predict a quagmire as the White House seeks to extricate itself and the global economy from the crisis of its own making in the Gulf. Escalation in airstrikes will only further stalemate the situation, the intel analysis forecast. This is exactly the type of stuff that the intel oligarchy does.
Yeah.
Get you pulled into a war and then position themselves to basically put it all on your shoulders, blame it all on you. I mean, and on paper, that's exactly that's what the chain of command is. I mean,
what's that do?
It's called the commander in chief.
Yeah.
But this was exactly the danger from the beginning, and not just the political consequences of it, which we were just talking about with the midterms and everything else, but you have potentially a very long. I mean, they say that we could be in there for the next year, potentially. And again, then you have people that want ground troops. Then you have people that just want to nuke them all, which is again insane. I don't know. I think your number one option, you should just walk away. You should just walk away at this point,
man.
And say whatever it is you got to say, but
it's hard.
Just walk away.
It's hard. It's like being, this is not a great analogy, but this is what pops into my head. But it's like being at the car dealership, and you've been there for 3 hours trying to negotiate this deal. You're trying to get it done. Every time you think you've got a deal complete, they go back. Well, we can't do it that way. We can do it this way, and all this stuff. And every time you think you're good to go. Yeah, the deal keeps changing.
Every time I think I'm out, they pull me
back in, right? And I obviously this when you're talking about lives at stake and versus a car dealership, but I think a lot of folks, and they wouldn't be wrong to think this is just like, hey, just leave the dealership, man. Yeah, just leave the dealership, just walk out, walk out, and maybe when you walk out, maybe you get a better deal. In this case, that's not right. What's going to happen because that's what Iran wants, But I don't know, man.
Listen to this.
I don't know.
Here's President Trump being asked about the war. Listen.
Well, Americans aren't against the war. A poll just came out. Americans don't want high gasoline prices, but they're not against the war. That just came out loud and clear.
Okay, so So he's saying that Americans are not against the war. Now,
I wish they'd play that music a little louder in the background.
Yeah, right. I know. Sorry, I could have found a better clip. My apologies. But
no, sorry.
So Mark Mitchell, who has broken away from Rasmussen Reports, and he's founded his own polling company, Honest Pollster. By the way, there's a big story there. Rasmussen early on.
Mark Mitchell is.
Yeah, he's really
for my money. He's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I appreciate his honesty. Mark Mitchell, though, was with Rasmussen, but the donors behind Rasmussen started to limit the type of polling reporting he was doing. This is
that makes no sense. Rasmussen was about the most accurate.
I know, but the polling he was doing was valuable information, showing the president or showing people in the White House that wanted to listen. Hey. People don't want the war. I mean, it was surrounding. It's not just about the war, but it's a lot of things, domestic issues, and everything else. And so he went away and actually vanished as a Rasmussen pollster. He went silent for a couple of months, and people started asking questions. Where's Mark? Well, it was obvious that he was being controlled, or was being told to tone it down. So now he has got his new this new polling operation, and so. he actually has some insight into the type of polls that President Trump could have been shown and how they may have been manipulated based on their questioning. So he says he's being shown results that had heavily primed questions quote, President Trump ordered the U.S. military to destroy Iran's nuclear program and take out the Ayatollah regime. Support or oppose the Iran attack, ? Now, there's a lot of people that are going to say, "Oh yeah, I support that." Yeah. But the question is not, do you support a longer conflict in Iran? Do you want boots on the ground? That sort of thing.
If we were in a court of law, objection, leading the witness.
Right, exactly.
That's kind of what Mark is saying here is that it's a very leading poll question,
right? And
so therefore, if you took off support or oppose the Iranian attack, like if you took off the preface there, he's insinuating almost all out saying that the poll results would be different.
Right. And again, we don't know if that's the specific poll that Donald Trump was given, but he's been tweeting a lot about the way the polling questions are being crafted.
I agree with a lot of people in our comments as well. Like I'm sick of this Iranian regime. I'm not a big fan of regime change wars, for the simple fact that it just seems like even if you get that regime out of power, another one rises, right? A phoenix from the ashes kind of thing. But how long? I mean, it's 50 years. Iran has been just waging war and terror on the West, and could you look at it and say, if we got rid of this threat, would we have a certain level of peace? Might be naive to think that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly. I mean, that's what happened with Iraq. That's what happens. You go in, you destabilize
you're
it.
Just like,
you're in a sectarian
it.
civil war. It's really great for defense contractors because you're now in another 30-year war. I mean, that's the thing. My generation, at least, we've seen this play out over and over and over again. And so, there are countries that are going to hate us and finance terror against us. That's true, right? That's true. But you have to be realistic about, can we even do anything about that in terms of go at the source, cut the head off of the snake? Here is a CNN poll. I've seen CNN polls. That are talking about how President Trump is the most popular. That he's been.
I'm gonna give a lot of credit to CNN. They seem to be doing some.
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. It's like I think it's all over the place. But we did have.
Well,
this.
I've gotten up.
I think the war was worth it. Iraq in 2006, 58% said it was not worth it. And again, that was 3 years into that war. Look at this now. You think that 58% was high in terms of not worth it? 68% of Americans, more than 2 in 3, say the Iran war was not worth it. Just 28.
Well, that's the thing. It's still going on?
Yeah. So here's the thing I will say is that 26. You think about 2006. What were we dealing with? We were dealing with lead into the housing crisis. Okay, and the housing bubble burst in 2006, 2007, 2008, somewhere around in there, and so excuse me. We were dealing with that. And then we got up to, I remember in Bush 2.0, like George W. Bush's second term, it's the first time I ever saw $4 a gallon in gas. Mm-hmm. And now this was 20 years ago. So $4 a gallon of gas was like way worse.
Yeah, back then.
Yeah, because that was huge. And I remember it didn't stay there very long. And then, but the thing going around was like, okay, well, do you know that George W. Bush owns oil stocks? He's an oil man from Texas, so he doesn't care about these high oil prices. And I remember it was something like $150 a barrel for oil, And so anyway, I say all that to say that, that's a tough comparison, the Iraq thing versus the Iran thing, because I think that we were leading out of President Bush's very high popularity. Well, then that stuff started to fade down, right? So he had like a 90% approval rating after 9/11, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
So after 9/11, he had like a 90% approval rating. And so when you think about 90% of the people approved of the president, that means Democrats were approving of George W.
Right.
Bush, right? And then what do? We started to see a decline there because of the economy. And so I think I would be willing to wager that it's not so much that these people are anti-war going to sit on a rocket like Jane Fonda, in Vietnam.
I think you're right about that.
I think they're seeing the price they're paying at the pump.
I think you're right at that. It's not just the price at the pump, but it is that. It's just also putting food on the table. It's also the grocery store prices. It's also
kitchen table
and all of
issues.
you got Wall Street that is wants to talk about how great things are for them. There is it's not a left wing talking point that things are not affordable for a lot of people.
It's a fact.
The affordability crisis is real. It's a real thing, and you can't just tell people it's not.
Yeah. Well, I control my
and again, you go back to the first 5 months, going to get rid of the IRS. Going to have all these refund checks or whatever from Doge. Like, things were amazing. Things. I mean, those were great. We don't hear so much about that anymore. We don't hear about. Now we are hearing it with New Jersey and everything else, but instead we're not critical. Like the White House should be hammering John Thune
Sure.
every single day. But instead, and you can talk about the wisdom of this or not, but this was President Trump's truth over on Truth Social. He posted about the death toll. He says, these are the real facts, report them. And if you see that there, he's saying that the Vietnam War, we had 19 years and 58,000 dead. Korean War was 3 years and 36,000 dead. Iraq War, 946. Afghanistan, 20 years, 2,000 dead. And the Iran military conflict, we've been going for 4 months and 18 dead. Venezuela War, one day, 0 dead. And I don't think this is a winning message at all.
I don't either.
This is.
Well, do the math. So if
it
you
doesn't
did,
even. It's like this isn't something to brag about. Out of all the wars, I get the least amount of people killed. There are people that don't want anybody dead in the Middle East, right?
8. So look at that red 18. Okay, the rest of them were wars, right? Because he's now said that this is a conflict.
A conflict.
Yes.
Now notice, the verbiage there.
But the Venezuelan war, was that a war?
No, that was just more like an exercise.
Dude, it was a military operation.
Yeah,
I love Trump. I love him. But that is not the dig that he thinks it is. It is not the slam that he thinks it is. And I get what he's trying to say here. But look at the Afghanistan war. I'm not. This is quick math. 4 months divided by 18 deaths. 20 years times 12, whatever that is, okay, divided by 2,000 deaths. It might literally be the same percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've not done this. You got some math people in our groups here that might check this or whatever. Could be worse. Heck, I don't know. Could be worse.
Yep.
But I'm just saying that's not a good trend. This Iranian military conflict is not a good trend. Because they could have had a nuclear weapon. But we've seen these clips, Paul, going all the way back to George W. Bush, Hillary Clinton when she was running for president in 2008, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton when she was running in 2016. All of these people saying, if Iran has nuclear aspirations, if they are close to getting a nuclear weapon, the United States will get involved militarily. All of them said it. Donald Trump sees that. But that means that Iran has been trying to get or almost about to get.
It's weapons of mass destruction all over again. It's literally Iraq all over again.
And that's not exactly this is not an anti-Trump thing.
Nope, it is what it is. It is what it is.
This is not an anti-Trump thing. This is they've been trying to do this for a long time. Were they that close? Were there weapons of mass destruction? I don't know. But I can tell you that I'm tired of paying $3.80 for a gallon of gas here in Arkansas.
Yeah, and then you look at the point like, okay, well, what this is really about is like a North Korea. Like nobody's invading North Korea. You know why? Because they have nuclear weapons. That's why.
There you go.
So even if they were close, of course, this is all done on the predication that if they have them, they will use them, and that's what the administration still thinks. Like if they had them, they're going to use them. And the laws of self-preservation, and I know this maybe is too much of a Western thought. I don't think the laws of self-preservation dictate that. I really don't. It'd be the end of your civilization. For the same reason that I don't think Bashar al-Assad actually gassed his own people, but what do I know? But, this is...
I mean, I don't know. Is it... You can... I don't understand it because you can go on YouTube right now and there are videos on how to make a nuclear weapon.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I've not looked them up, but
I haven't looked them up either.
I'm told they exist. Now, here's the other thing. I don't know if it's real.
Yeah, is it real?
I don't know if it's real.
There's also videos of time machines. You can go how to build your own time machine.
Is that right?
I'm sure there are. There was some movie about that years ago.
I just think here's what I feel like. I believe that the military-industrial complex has given Trump bad intel. That's what I believe from the very beginning because Donald Trump is an anti. Yeah. He's anti-war. He doesn't want this.
There were
stuff.
also reports that the intel also was from Israel too, and that it was bad.
Could be that
because you had the New York Times story that said that even Rubio and J.D. Vance were like, we can take out the Ayatollah, but what happens after you take out the Ayatollah? We can take out anybody in the world if we want to. But
sure, but I also think that there are people here on United States soil that benefit from war.
100%.
When we were sending, we didn't see a whole lot of consternation about Iran when we were sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. Okay, so we're sending all this money over to Ukraine to try to delay this inevitable war where Russia's going to win. Right, the military-industrial complex rejoiced. They loved it. They were like, "Oh yes, this is red meat for us. We're getting big, huge paydays." Once that died down with Trump, hey, I'm not sending you any more money. Where's our next thing? Iran's about to get a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, after we pulled out of Afghanistan.
Tell me that's not viable. Tell me that's not possible.
Right.
Okay? Because Iran has been close to a nuclear weapon for 20 years.
Since the 90s. I mean, they've got
30 years.
Yeah, we've got people out there since the 90s saying
so.
Benjamin
I'm
Netanyahu.
not saying that that's not the case because I don't know. But I can tell you if it's not the case, then Trump just got bad intel because Trump's no fool.
Right.
Trump is no fool, and he's not going to go into Iran just because he's friends with Israel, no matter what anybody believes. That's my belief. Okay, maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's my belief. I don't believe that he's going in on behalf of Israel just because he knows that that's going to cost him politically. He said no new wars. He said it 1,000,000 times. So he knows that's going to cost him politically. I believe that Donald Trump truly believed that they were close to a nuclear weapon, and maybe they were. But I also believe how strong that military-industrial complex and that wheel turning, the Lindsey Grahams, God rest his soul, the Lindsey Grahams of the world advocating for all of these wars because the money is flowing.
Well, you said something that really struck a nerve with me. You said bad intelligence. So that to my previous point about how this all just feels like Iraq. And then you just mentioned Lindsey Graham. Here is an old clip of President Trump talking about Lindsey Graham.
Okay,
listen to this. I wasn't going to play this, but then you brought up Lindsey Graham. So
see, Lindsey Graham just said of your remarks that you made in the Oval Office that if you keep talking like that, quote, this will be a disaster worse than Obama's decision to leave Iraq.
No, Lindsey Graham would like to stay in the Middle East for the next 1,000 years with thousands of soldiers and fighting other people's wars. I want to get out of the Middle East.
So, again, to your point, he said this over and over. Now, do we have ground troops? No, but there are plenty of people saying this is the only option now. And again, ground troops will result in a lot of dead Americans. And then, by the way, also, I mean, I know we've got a lot of Marines over there and everything else, but in terms of like an army, like I don't think a lot of people realize like how low our armed forces are when it comes to like ground troops in the Army are. They're actually not. The money hasn't been going there for a while, and that's because most of our this is just the way I understand it. Most of our preparations for war has been with China and places like that, or maybe even Russia. Although but mainly China. And the fact is, like, any sort of large ground force can be seen for days away, and they're going to get blown up. So it's all about drones. It's all about potentially marine excursionary units or something like that. But I don't think we really even have the forces to do a multi-year ground invasion. I think if you did do some sort of ground invasion, which I do not support, it's going to be much more tactical and a lot fewer soldiers. Than say like Iraq.
I don't think we're gonna have like desert storm.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the other thing. Where do you stage it? This is the other thing. This is the problem with the topography.
Where's the battleground?
Where do you stage and amass your forces? Right. We had places to do that with Iraq. We don't have that with. You don't have that with Iran. And then you've got the mountains. The topography is an absolute nightmare, and it is what it is. In other news, though, and this may be some sort of, I don't know if it's a carrot or what, but President Trump has reportedly approved an agreement to let Saudi Arabia potentially enrich uranium and provide them with a civilian nuclear program. According to the Wall Street Journal, a 30-year deal is worth tens of billions of dollars, and American companies would have a huge role. An enrichment facility could eventually be built with United States control. So I don't know. This comes out of nowhere. This is interesting. A lot of people suspected that there would be a lot of other Gulf states that are going to try to get nuclear weapons, in the grand scheme of things, that this whole conflict could kind of start a domino effect where that happens. I don't know, or maybe it's some sort of carrot saying, hey, if you play nice, if you want a nuclear program, this is how you get it. You have to be nice to the United States. I don't know, but this is just another piece of news that it's another data point, and I'm not really sure what to make of it, And so that is the end of the Middle East segment for today. I
want to address one comment in our. Oops, sorry, I lost my thing there. I want to address one comment in there, like, where do you get this crap in ground invasion from Liberty? Where's the end of this? Let me ask you this. And I'm not trying to go to battle with one of our people.
I don't understand the comment.
Because what we were talking about is, like, if we were going to stage a ground invasion, where would it be?
Okay, right.
Yeah. And they're like, well, ground invasion, where would you get this crap? And we're thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead here. Because where we at right now, we're doing aerial assaults here. We're doing with drones. We're doing all of this stuff. And what do? They keep popping up, because they're everywhere. They're not. They're
decentralized, and they got
right,
and they're a conventional military,
right?
And they're a 1,000,000-man army too, by the way.
Correct, and then 1 million, right? And so we're not this. It's not colonial days where we're lining up. Right. In single file rows here on the battlefield and shooting each other, taking turns shooting each other. That's not what this war is. This war is going to be fought in the trenches. It's going to be fought in the mountains. It's going to be fought in their homeland. And so what is the end result? You just say, why you're never going to send ground troops in there? I don't want to go after one of our people. I appreciate you watching. But you think that's never an option? We already have ground troops there. They're already there. It's just whether they get the call to go in and whether more will be allowed to go in there. They're already there. We have ground troops in Ukraine. Did you know that? Did you know that we have ground troops in Ukraine? They are there. I met a guy who just came back from Ukraine. He lives here in Jonesboro. They are there. But you didn't know that because we haven't talked about the fact that there are ground troops there. This is our brothers, our sisters, our uncles, our cousins, our friends. This is what we're doing to go in there to keep them from getting a nuclear weapon. Now, if they are close to getting a nuclear weapon, I completely agree. Iran with a nuclear weapon would cause chaos against. If that is the truth, then I don't know what links I would agree to go to, but I can just say you're naive if you don't think that we're about to have another Afghanistan 2.0. Okay.
You mean that it's a very high probability, and once you
That-
send ground troops in there, you're there for the long haul.
You're there for the long haul,
Yeah.
and you can do it with drones mostly. And the first George H.W. Bush did a lot without sending ground troops in there, but ground troops came.
And it's an interesting thing about that too, because
And are you ready for that?
No.
Are you willing to do it?
No, I'm not. My generation's not. The young people aren't. It is what it is. I mean, and we may be wrong. I don't think we are, but the Republican Party coalition has got a lot of soul searching to do when it comes to you're never going to convince the younger generation that we need to continue what we've been doing in the Middle East. But it is interesting about the whole drone thing, because we've spent all of this money on aircraft carriers, right? And that's kind of the conventional warfare, aircraft carriers and everything else. But when you look at the Strait of Hormuz, these aircraft carriers cannot get close enough to really drop off these ground troops. This comes back to the staging argument, right? And then you've got Iran that put all their technology into these missiles and all these drones. And the New York Post reporting that one of the downed pilots from months ago, the swarm of drones that was moving in tandem. I don't know if you read that report.
No.
It sounded like something, and according to the pilot, was reported that it was like alien technology to them, that these drones swarmed the plane and were able to move and created some sort of shape, and were able to move. So, and we're not going to be told anything that doesn't show us as having the most superior military. And obviously we got the bombs, we're dropping them, and
Sure.
yet the CIA has the memo now saying, yeah, but is this actually weakening their cards? Is it weakening their negotiating position?
Yeah.
And because of the topography, and it's very ironic, it's the reversal of where the Persians are using the Hot Gates Thermopylae against the West, whereas Leonidas used it against the Persians. It's kind of a modern-day version of that. But I'm going to give you another take on this, because I know we're very critical of the status quo. But here is another take. Here's Bill Mitchell, and he is I don't know who this guy is. That's not Bill Mitchell, but it's some other guy. I'm sorry to not know who this is. Senator Hagerty. Senator Hagerty is explaining that there's actually a 5D chess thing behind this, or some
I
sort.
hope there is
some sort of genius.
Listen, I'll say this before you play it. I'm inclined to trust Trump on stuff. Although I disagree with some of his stuff, I'm not going to blindly follow him. If he has intel, I trust Trump's decision making. What I'm trying to say is I don't necessarily trust the intel that he was given.
I mean, the CIA is now saying they're distancing themselves from this whole thing,
Yeah.
and it's like, now here's the albatross, take it. But here's Hagerty, so a different perspective than what we've been covering, just to kind of try to give you guys another perspective.
Of course, the Israelis demonstrated this. The Iranians never stopped their program. They've always been in pursuit of a nuclear weapon, and all we wound up doing, again in 2020 hindsight, was giving the funds to instigate more terrorism and put them back on the path with a little bit of a timeline to have a nuclear weapon. You come forward and you think about what drove the decision for President Trump at the time that he made the decision. It was mathematics. The Iranians figured out if they could continue to build more cheap ballistics, more cheap drones, at some point they could overwhelm conventional capabilities to take them out. And you know what our capability is, exquisite. But when, a ballistic missile comes in, we've got, extraordinary technology that can take it out.
Yeah, that's the THAAD missiles?
In the Patriot systems. We've got several systems that will do it, but they're quite expensive, and the timeline to reproduce them is significantly longer than
So the conflict becomes asymmetrical because they can produce all these cheap.
And you look at the pace that they're producing these cheap, these cheap ballistics. And at some point, you realize if they overwhelm our ability to stop them, then they have all the time they ever needed to build the nuclear program. So as you look at that math, you realize, wait a minute, we're moving in a direction. You can see where it's going. You need to act. And that's exactly where we were. The precise timing, I think, had to do with 40 people being in the wrong room at the wrong time. But directionally speaking, you could see where this was going. It had to be dealt with.
So to that, Bill Mitchell says, again, Honest Pollster now, says, that may be. But there was minimal effort to explain to America why this strike was so vital. It took the place of the domestic policy agenda they voted for.
Which was no new wars.
Yes. And focusing only on America and only on getting our infrastructure and where it needs to be. And the stuff that we were hearing about Doge and all of the stereotypical ideas that we've always had about government were proven right about the waste, the fraud, and it wasn't just waste. I mean, we're talking about just massive criminal activity, and from our own officials about how they were spending our money. And from everything from illegals being registered, we're going to get to the illegals as we run out of time. Or let's see, what time is it?
Yeah,
we got about 9 minutes.
Here's the thing. I just feel like there's only two options. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm going to go back to what I said at the very beginning. Two options: we either let it alone or we do a regime change. Because let me ask you this question: if you don't believe that those are the two options. If you don't believe that those are the two options, I want you to tell me this. How do you negotiate with this regime? I'll pause. I'll wait. How do you negotiate with this regime? They've proven they have no desire for long-term, lasting negotiations.
Yeah, well, and
not within our interest.
Well, and it's because they say, well, why should we make a deal when we have these advantages? We have these geographic advantages, and we want to charge a toll now. We want to charge a toll to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, right?
All right, so our two options. Go back to them. We're just look, folks, it's simple. Those are our two options. You want to say like we sound like Tucker. I'm not sitting here trying to villainize Israel. And I know you don't always agree with Israel, but you're not sitting here trying to say Israel is the villain of every story in the Middle East. You're not doing that. But I can tell you this. Those are the two options. You either let it alone or regime change. Because at this point, 4 months later, has Iran given you any indication? Multiple times they've told us we've got a deal. Here we go. Let's negotiate toward the final deal, but we're agree on this memorandum of understanding. What happens the next day? Bombs, missiles, attacking people in the strait, all of this stuff.
Right.
You got two options, folks. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah.
Either you get out of this or regime change. So tell me this.
How do you do regime change?
How do you do regime change without ground troops?
Right.
You're so naive if you think
and they know
you
this.
can do a regime change without ground troops.
And they know this, and that's why
have mercy.
That's why there are people pushing for a nuclear option, which is obviously insane.
But we're Tucker Carlson at this point.
Right. Well,
we're Tucker Carlson at this point because we're sitting here saying those are our two options. I don't like option B. I don't want ground troops in Iran trying to do a regime change. Mm-hmm. Is that ultimately why Tulsi left? She's massively anti-regime change. I don't believe so. I truly believe her story about her husband because he
Have you heard about her brother? Her brother's gotten picked up for some kind of. Her brother apparently is crazy, and
my God, man, it's just all stuff. Listen, I am a conservative. If Trump was on the ballot again, I would vote for Trump. This November, I am going to vote R down the line. Okay, do not mistake me whatsoever. But I can tell you this: my 15-year-old son, all he talks about is joining the military. Do I want a conflict that starts right now that is still going to be going on when my son graduates high school and joins the military? Hell no. I don't want it. I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. But, my God, what are we going to do? The world is an evil place. I trust God. You trust God. At a certain point, we've just got to give this to Jesus. Instead of, do I want to go in there and obliterate a country, including 7 million Christians? No. People need to wake up. You're like, well, you just got to take them out. You got to take them out. Mark Levin, you got to do this. Huh? You got to do it. That involves sending our sons and daughters to war over oil, over a potential nuclear weapon. For the love of God, folks, wake up. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm gonna lose all these people. I'm gonna get canceled. I don't know.
I don't think so, Rob. I don't think so, brother. But we do need more story. I'll say this in terms of the midterm aspects of all of this, because I feel like that's kind of what we're all focused on, because we don't want to have to live under Democrat rule. And that's what we're, for our own families here at home, we know what they will do. We need more stories like this. Donald Trump just revealed the number of non-citizens registered to vote in New Jersey is more than 5 times higher than Governor Sherrill's estimate. 35,000 is the new number just released by Homeland Security of non-citizens registered to vote in New Jersey. As a matter of fact, she was actually contradicted because she tried to blame a third party for the registrations. Yeah. And the third party company came back and said, no, actually, that was the government.
Don't put this evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
That was actually the government that did it. And then, of course, do we have time for this? We're almost out of time, but here is CNN. They are trying their best to gaslight the public.
Because they're trying to defraud the system. They might have cast a ballot because they just weren't aware that they were incorrectly put on the voter roll.
They weren't aware that they weren't a citizen of the United States?
Wait a minute. Pause that. Hold on. Did Abby just say that?
They didn't know they weren't supposed to vote.
I didn't know that I was here illegally.
I'm sorry, officer. I didn't know I couldn't do that. This Dave Chappelle famously said.
Are you Abby? Now she's stupid. She's incredibly stupid. She's not Jasmine Crockett stupid, but she's stupid. She literally just said they didn't know.
Let's listen again.
They weren't allowed to vote.
Because they're trying to defraud the system. They might have cast a ballot because they just weren't aware that they were incorrectly put on the voter roll.
They weren't aware that they weren't a citizen of the United States?
No,
they said in this instance that they weren't citizens. They were still
Is this accurately described as fraud when none of these people tried to
Yes,
it's
legally
fraud. They cast ballots. 400 of them cast ballots. They had to actively go do that. I assume no one voted in their name. Maybe they did. I don't know. But they actively cast a ballot. Did they not?
What I want to put
an illegal alien gets put on the rolls, however they got there, and cast a ballot.
But you acknowledge that some people might actually be confused, because this has come up in courts before, where some people who are ineligible to vote are not aware that they're ineligible to vote.
They're just confused.
She's trying everything she can. She's trying everything she can to church this up, man.
I know, it's crazy, man.
She's trying to put lipstick on that big old fat pig.
This one thing that the right has alleged has been happening that we have sworn up and down does not happen, has never happened. Now that it's proven that and admitted that it did happen, well, they didn't know they couldn't do that. They just didn't know, Rob.
They just didn't know. They didn't know they were illegal. They didn't know that they couldn't vote. They didn't know that, that they were illegally doing something after they illegally came into the country and illegally applied for benefits.
Last clip, we got to go after this. Here's Allison Steinberg from Lindell TV and Elizabeth Warren.
Boom.
Hi, just a quick question for you. I know you're vehemently opposed to the Save America Act, but does the recent revelation in New Jersey with the aliens who are actually registered to vote change your opinion on getting that legislation passed?
Look, it is already illegal for someone who's not an American citizen to vote. Period.
But there's
That's the
at
law.
least 400 aliens that did vote.
There are already laws to prevent that.
Well, do you
And
think
if
anything's gonna
people
happen?
have violated the law, then they should be prosecuted.
Do you
Easy.
think anything's actually going to
Easy.
happen? I thought Democrats always said that there's no evidence of
I
illegal
don't
voting.
understand why you want laws that are already there. That
They're not
makes
being-
no sense.
But
All right, that's all the time that we have. Rob, I appreciate you hanging out with me, brother. Thank you so much. It's always great to have you.
Appreciate
Shout
it.
out to our
Appreciate
sponsor.
it. Yeah, appreciate everybody in our chat as well. So this is good, healthy discussion. We do that on the right. They don't do it on the left.
That's true. That's true. Coalition Party, we've got a different tier structure of ideas and priorities. But we move forward. Folks, that's all the time that we have. God bless everybody if they're watching. We'll see you here tomorrow, and have a great night.